Hi folks, we're going to talk about reverse engineering binary programs using Ghidra. So Ghidra is a reverse engineering toolkit for reverse engineering binary software. So that is mostly things like an executable program, like a .exe file on Windows, or just like a file you'd find that's executable on a Unix system, or a compiled program for Java bytecode, for example, so Android code. And it can basically take that, it will disassemble it for you to give you the assembly code, and even have a really powerful feature to do some like quite high quality decompilation. So it decompiles it, gives you what resembles the original source code back. And it's just a really powerful toolkit for understanding, analyzing, documenting, and even modifying existing binaries without requiring access to the source code. So in this video, what I'm going to do is explain what Ghidra is and give you an overview of how to use it and how the interface works. And I'll record a separate video around doing the analysis itself. So Ghidra was developed by the NSA Research Directorate, and it was developed in secrecy for many years. So almost 20 years it's been under development in the NSA, and the existence of it has been leaked a few times in the past. So I think the first we heard about it was through WikiLeaks, and then the Snowden revelations told us a little bit more about it. But we didn't really know that much about this tool until it was open sourced. So to their credit, the NSA have open sourced some really interesting projects in the past, including SE Linux, which provides security enhancements to the Linux kernel. And Ghidra is another one. So it's an incredibly powerful piece of software that the NSA use when they're doing the reverse engineering of malware or firmware, looking at software vulnerabilities. They use it for lots of different things. They haven't open sourced all of the bits that they have yet, but what they've released is a very powerful framework for doing reverse engineering. It's that good that it's compared with IDA Pro. So IDA Pro is the very expensive commercial software that has been the go-to for reverse engineering until now, and Ghidra is up there. It's compared with IDA Pro. So you can run Ghidra on Mac, Windows, or Linux. It mostly runs as a Java program. The decompiler itself is written in C++, and the plugins and extensions that you write for Ghidra can be written in Java or Python. So runs on lots of platforms. What it can analyze many instruction sets for lots of different kinds of processes, and also bytecode, including like Java and Android bytecode. So if you've got a binary program, there's a very good chance that Ghidra can analyze it for you and interpret it for you. So some of the features is around disassembly and assembly. So you can take the binary program, look at those bytes, and tell you what the assembly code is. So give you an assembly representation of those machine code instructions. It does decompilation, so it can decompile from the assembly down to, or back up to, the C code. So it can give you something that is very similar to the original source code. And it can do graphing, which we'll look at another later. It can be used for teamwork, so there's a feature where you can have multiple people doing analysis on the same piece of malware. It has the ability to undo and redo, which is something that's known to be lacking from IDA, for example. And it's extendable. You can do scripting. It has version control and all sorts. So if you're getting started with Ghidra, the first thing to know about it is that it's project-based. So you can't really do analysis without first starting a project, and then you import the binary files into that project. And when you're importing the files, you've got an option to import shared libraries alongside the binary, so that it can you can dig into the external calls that the program's making as well. So let's have a look. Okay, so we've got Ghidra here, and I've got a project here, but let's start a new project. So when you start a new project in Ghidra, the first decision you need to make is whether it's a shared project, like you're working in a team, or not. If it is a shared project, you have to set up a server. But no, it's not. We'll call this crack me. So we've created a new project, and then you can import files by clicking File and Import File, or you can use the shortcut key of just the letter I. So if you hit I on the keyboard, it will let you import a file at this point. I've prepared I've just written a short little crack me challenge for the sake of demonstrating Ghidra, which I'll use in this video and the next one. So I can import crack me. It has automatic detection of the architecture, so it's telling me it's x86 and it's 64-bit. It's little endian and compiled with GCC, and that's all fine. So you can go to options, and one of the helpful options that is usually a good idea to do actually is to tell it to load the external libraries as well. So then when you import it, it will process this, the basic information about that file and import it into Ghidra. And you can see here there's some things here. So some of this information is the stuff out of the ELF header. So like the fact that it's a little endian, and there's some useful information there. We've got it, a few processing errors, but we can ignore those for now. And it has successfully imported the shared C library while importing the program. So it's imported the library and the crack.me file itself. So from here we can basically open the binary file, and it's launched the code browser. The first thing it asks is whether or not it wants you to do the auto analysis, which you'll almost always want to say yes, but for the sake of exploring what the analyzer does, we'll say no at first, just to see what's going on. So in the interface, we've got quite a lot of information here already. Let me just step through what some of this stuff is. So the program tree on the side, the default program tree that shows is essentially a list of all the sections within the ELF file. So in this case, there might be some things that we're interested in. So this program that we are currently trying to reverse engineer is a little crack.me file. When you run it, it asks you for a password. You enter the password, and you need to try and figure out what the password is in order to solve the challenge. And I've just written this C code just now as an example. But if we want to try and figure out what that password is, usually a pretty good place to start is to look at the read-only data section of the executable, because that's got any constants in there. And you can see here that to start with, you can kind of read down this column. So we've not done any analysis on this binary yet. essentially it's just giving us a list of all the bytes, and it's showing us a hex representation and an ASCII representation. You can see here, it looks like there is some ASCII there, so that's quite interesting. We'll come back to that later. If we go to the text section of the executable, remember this is the binary code, like the actual machine code for the instructions for it. It doesn't mean much at the moment. So we've got some symbols that have been detected, but within those symbols we've just got some binary code, so it's not helpful. It's not very useful yet. So let's run the analysis. So this is the analysis that would automatically happen if I just clicked yes the first time. So the audio analysis, there is lots of different analyzers that you can choose to use. The ones that are red are kind of the more experimental features. All the black colored ones are kind of safe to run, but it does disable some that kind of take longer to run. And you know, we can come back in more detail to like what these actually do later, but because this is quite a small program, there's not really any harm in just enabling all of them and clicking analyze. But if you've got a larger executable, you might want to choose to just like run the main ones first and then come back to running the others if you need to, just because it can take a while. It ran so fast then, but if you missed it, down the corner here, actually just right behind where I am, just down here, there was a very quick little progress bar that shows that it's processing something, but that's complete now. So you can see here, now that the analysis has happened, we can see the assembly instructions, so that's cool. Let's go back to that read-only section first and see what's in there. So here we can see that there is a string. Crack this with some interesting capitalization. That looks like it could be a password, so maybe we could try that in the program. Maybe that's a solution already. So we'll try that. So we run the program again, and excellent. Type in that password. It wasn't right. Okay, so it's not as simple as that, but it's worth trying. So okay, so there's a string there. It looks like it might be a password, but it's not. So let's crack this. There's something here, because I know in C that looks like a format string. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just giving you a little bit of an overview of the interface, but I'm not going to dig into the actual analysis properly until the next video. But you can see here, so there's some strings in there that are in the program, so that's quite interesting. Going back to the text part of it, you can see there's a start function, and we will know that in a C program on Linux, the execution properly starts in the main function. So basically the elf header points at the start, that start function, and then the start function does a bunch of stuff to initialize things and ends up calling the main function. And all that initialization stuff essentially explains all these other functions. So really it can be distracting, but if you become familiar with the fact that these are there, then you'll know, it'll help you to know what you can ignore for usually quite safely. So the main function, here we can see that there is like the function prologue, and we're basically, so this assembly is loading up the address of this string that asks them to enter the password into a register, and then it's calling printf, and printf basically is going to print that string out to the screen, and you can see here it's passing some more things into the next parameter, which is scanf, and then there's it's setting, passing some more parameters and calling a function called check password. That seems interesting. And then it's doing some comparison and basically telling them whether they've done well or not. So there's some jump functions. There's some jumping depending on the conditions being met. So so that's the assembly code. So this is the listing view, shows us the assembly. The symbol tree here allows us to find the symbols, so like functions, and look at them. And the decompiler over here is an incredibly powerful feature because it's basically taken that assembly code and tried to figure out what the C code would look like for that function. Some of the nice things about it also is if you click on a line or highlight some lines, it highlights the lines in the assembly. So that is just quite a helpful feature. So you can look at the two, and you can do things like double click and it will take you through to the other symbol, to the check password function, for example. You can see here there's a bunch of stuff that happens. And here is the decompiled version of what it thinks it is. We'll come back in a separate video to actually trying to make further sense of that and to analyze this properly. But that is essentially the interface and how it works. We've got the list of symbols here, which includes functions that we can navigate between. There's the program tree, which starts off showing you the sections within the executable file. You can do more with that, but we'll leave that for another video as well. There's the assembly code here in the listing view. There's lots of ways that you can navigate around and search for things and highlight things. One of the very useful features is the fact that it gives you the cross references for everything. So for example, here, this crack this constant, it shows you a reference to every time that is used within the program. So you can actually like double click and see where it's actually used within the executable. So that's really helpful, where you can navigate around. You can see where every constant is used within a function. You can see where functions call other functions. Just incredibly detailed view of what's happening. And so far we're just scratching the surface of what Ghidra can do, but hopefully that gives you a good starting point for understanding what Ghidra is doing and an overview of the interface.